Today we have a special guest on the podcast. It's Dr. Warren Johnson from Johnson & Wheeler Consultancy. He's done some groundbreaking work in the areas of psychology and sociology, including the subject of his latest area of inquiry, in which he has a revolutionary new approach to achieving happiness. Dr. Johnson, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, thanks for having me.
Can you tell us about your background, your area of expertise, and the fascinating insights your research has uncovered?
Sure. After doing my undergraduate at RMIT, I undertook my Masters of Psychology in Vienna and then a PhD in Forensic Psychology. I came to be involved in a lot of family law cases back home and started my own consultancy firm and continued with my team research in the area of human happiness. Our latest findings show that happiness can largely be achieved by removing some of the societal ails that afflict us. Specifically, there's been a significant societal impact and therefore implications for the many occurrences of people my team and I refer to as being a dickhead. We found that if you're able to remove the dickheads, happiness increases.
Being a dickhead, but we've had dickhead behaviour for a long time, haven't we?
We certainly have, but we've noticed some factors that are causing an increase in dickheads in both rural and urban areas, and we really need people to be more aware of the subtleties and variations of dickhead behaviour. They need to call it out and not dismiss things as just having a bit of fun when someone's just being an absolute dickhead.
What effects are we seeing as a result of the rise of all these dickheads?
Well, dickheads continue to put pressure on families in public and in the home, and this acceptance has led to more brazen acts that spread to local sporting clubs, workplaces, social media, where dickhead behaviour can not only be tolerated but go viral. It can be celebrated and emulated, so where you once had a few cases of dickhead parents creating dickhead kids, now we see much less parental influence having the power to curb the rampant surge in little dickheads.
It sounds like the solution to this would be to limit a child's access to social media accounts, no?
Well, yes, but if you do that, you'd just be a bit of a dickhead.
How so?
Because adults have subconsciously formed their own addiction to sites like Twitter and YouTube or any form of entertainment for that matter. If they try to limit their child's access, they immediately look like a hypocrite or a bully.
Couldn't they satisfy their own social media urges while their children play outside?
Ironically, the media that many parents are addicted to consistently portray the world as a scary, dark place in order to attract ratings, thus causing parents to believe the outside world is an unsafe place not fit for child's play. Also, video games are so good now, kids don't have the time or patience for fun stuff like arts and crafts, hitting a cricket ball into a window, nor what young people refer to as bullshit activities like riding, swimming, or conversations. Parents also lack the time and energy to develop better strategies for dealing with little dickheads because these changes in society render their colleagues and bosses dickheads too, and the subsequent workplace stress is transferred to the home.
What implications does this have going forward?
Well, more dickheads means more stress, more anxiety, and more pressure on our healthcare system, a loss of productivity and harm to our environment.
Sounds like few people benefit from such a scenario.
Rich people are less affected, even though as drivers of corporations, they spread the incidence of dickheads by encouraging frivolous spending and making people feel inadequate for not having a 4-slot toaster or one of those lamps you turn on by clapping.
Oh, I love those lamps.
Do you have one?
Does it make me a dickhead if I do?
No, but worrying about what I think does.
Oh.
You see, the current environment has been created and facilitated by not only media, but also by consumer culture, and that means consumption of everything, including style over substance. So when the 1% have their fingers in all the pies and the rest of us are left squabbling for the crumbs, people appear to sacrifice truth and integrity in their pursuit of instant gratification, including the deep and strong need to elevate their social status in times of insecurity, even if it means acting like a complete and utter dickhead. Granted, some dickhead behaviour is worse than others, but promoting fear through the insecurity of needing one's self-worth to be constantly affirmed by others fits the criteria, albeit sitting at the base of the dickhead spectrum.
Fascinating. So it's important that we depart from the consumerism in our culture. Does that suggest an entire departure from the capitalist system?
Competition born of capitalism is one thing, and it's largely empowering and positive, but people need to be aware of their extravagances. There might not be a lot we can do about dickhead politicians stripping back regulations for their dickhead donors, but too much of something, just like too much ice cream or fatty foods is unhealthy, so too is thinking that you have to have all the latest accessories, or that you have to have a truckload of opinions that every person needs to hear. Let's face it, you just come off sounding like
a dickhead?
Exactly.
So what are some of the telltale signs What are some of the behaviors we usually gloss over but could actually prove one is being a dickhead?
Well, there's several. What constitutes dickhead behavior will remain subjective, so even the obvious to us, leaving a bar when it's your shout, drag racing in a residential street, talking loudly on your mobile about your stock portfolio, pissing all over a toilet seat, etc., are considered minor infractions to the hardened dickhead, but a few of the lesser known problematic signs, as our research suggests, are actually things like taking a child and telling them they can be anything they desire, or telling a lonely person they can just believe and they'll soon have their one true soulmate. These claims are not backed by any empirical evidence and may in fact steer the recipient into a mindset of entitlement, completely devoid of the hard work needed to improve oneself and one's situation, thereby, sadly and ironically, condemning the subject of their words to develop or reinforce habits contrary to what is needed to reach a positive outcome.
So what you're saying is dickheads create dickheads.
Well, any dickhead could see that, but the point is not to presume your words and actions are harmless, and to cultivate a better understanding of the knock-on effect that society as a whole will end up dealing with as a burden to share. There's plenty of other signs too. Asking someone to hold the line, then making them wait 10 minutes before returning just to tell them their call is important to you, dickhead. Paying someone in likes instead of money, dickhead. Telling someone to have faith and believe what you do or they'll burn in hell for all eternity, dickhead. Getting all your news from Facebook and repeating it to people who are trying to watch the cricket, dickhead. Revealing the footy scores to someone who wants to watch the replay, dickhead. Being offended on behalf of a person or group because it just makes you feel good to bitch and moan, dickhead. Putting makeup on your pets, dickhead. Thinking you're better than me because you own a watch, dickhead. Putting sugar in my coffee when I didn't ask for any, dickhead. Having a phobia of white fluffy clouds. Maybe a little bit unfair, but dickhead. The list goes on, and while we try to recognise and weed out dickheads, this doesn't absolve people of the label by complaining about dickheads longer than absolutely necessary. Doing your bit in the 21st century, now as much as ever, entails the need for people to toughen up and take a dickhead to task, but also to be able to accept the things we can't change and move forward quickly and positively for our own health and well-being. Living and embracing good values and not giving a stuff about the rest elevates us into the bracket we should all be aiming for.
What should people do if they think they or a friend or a loved one is about to be a dickhead?
Well, it really is a case-by-case scenario dependent on where someone falls on the small to massive dickhead scale. Sometimes playing calming music helps, other times a stern glare or a raising of the voice can nullify a dickhead. But for the more egregious acts of dickheadedness, it could be anything from a group of you joining forces and applying a warm cloth to the dickhead's forehead, to saying, "What's that over there?" and then running for cover, or even calling the authorities and alerting them to the situation. If in any doubt as to the size of the dickhead, it's simply best to not approach, or if avoidance is unavoidable, then approach with caution. After these initial steps are taken, the dickhead can be moved to a secure location and taken in for questioning and further assessment, whereby legal and healthcare professionals can plan steps to recovery.
For all the dickheads out there listening now or watching on YouTube, what are the benefits of getting off a dickhead lifestyle?
Most dickheads think that the very actions that make them such a dickhead are fundamental and essential components of their well-being. But in fact, relinquishing oneself from dickheads or from being a dickhead has shown to reduce blood pressure, improve sleep, cardiovascular health, memory, boost sex drive, and reduce stress and anxiety. Many of these benefits arise from a result of people smiling at you more, wanting to do things for you, and just not calling you a dickhead, etc.
So there's still hope for every dickhead out there pounding away at life.
I believe so. It's worth pointing out that we need the attitude that no one is immune from the trappings of becoming a dickhead, so it's therefore incumbent upon us to provide some empathy and counsel to even the biggest dickheads. It was once assumed that a particular type of dickhead was a lost cause, but now, once the proper diagnosis has been given, dickheads all across the country have access to support groups and rehab facilities. Paradoxically, we're at a period in time where dickhead numbers are at an all-time high and causing all sorts of havoc, but it's also the best time in history to be a dickhead, so don't despair if you think you might be suffering. And for the rest of us, that's not to say that the most important work hasn't been done. Dickheads are still growing at a steady rate, and the affliction doesn't discriminate between age, social status, race, religion, or gender. You may be more at risk than you think, so get yourself checked at one of our clinics and stay vigilant.
Dr. Johnson, thanks so much for your time.
My pleasure.
What a dickhead.
What a dickhead.